Ordinarily, Monday is my favorite day. But today, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not even that huge a Seahawks fan, okay? I mean, I love this. I like the Seahawks. They're great. My daughter lives in Seattle. She was the infamous Bat fan. You might have seen her on Facebook. She had the whole bat thing with the Seahawk colors, so she was the Bat fan. And
really?
Yes.
I did not pick her out.
She's the Bat fan. Anyway.
Bat fan.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Anyway, I want to fill up the phone lines for the first few minutes. I want somebody out there to tell me what in the flying, whatever. Football, Pete Carroll was thinking when you've got the ball on the 1 yard line. You've got one of the best running backs, the best running back in football, the man who won't be stopped. You give him the ball, he runs it over the end zone, you win the game, and you have 2 consecutive Super Bowl victories. But no, what Pete Carroll has to do, I'll be clever, and they think we're going to run, so what we're going to do is we're going to pass the ball, and the guy's going to catch it, and everybody go, oh, that was a clever play, until the other team decided, you know what, I think I want that ball more than him. And he grabs it out of the air and wins the game for Tom Brady and the New England blankety-blank Patriots.
So you weren't rooting for Belichick, I assume.
No, I can't stand Belichick. He's proven himself over and over again as somebody who will do anything to win. And I think that's what happened. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
Whoa, you think that's what there's a conspiracy now?
Hold on. I shouldn't say that. He's proven in the past that he's willing to break the rules. Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know if he broke the rules here, but he basically, as any good coach will do, he took advantage of the mistake of another team.
Right.
This is what happened. All right.
On the field, it was definitely the Seahawks gave that up.
On the field, it was now there. I'm going to start my own little conspiracy, all right?
Oh, great.
I want to know what it was that made Pete Carroll come up with that absolute bonehead play, and I think I know what it is.
What?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Now, you may think I'm a little crazy here, but you'll notice that Pete Carroll's always chewing that gum. He's got that big, huge wad of gum in his mouth, and he's chewing on it all the whole game. Right? I'm thinking, Bill Belichick got a hold of Pete Carroll's gum. All right? Just before the fourth quarter, when he added he keeps adding sticks of gum, right? And I think what happened is he put some sort of weird chemical substance in the gum. And while he's chewing his gum, it fried his brain to think, instead of using the best running back in the country to get the goal in the end zone and win the game, I think we'll pass. That's what I think happened. Well, I think it was the drugged gum conspiracy theory.
Now, Carroll the team practices in Seattle, or pretty close to Washington, in Washington State at least.
Yes.
Where getting drugs apparently is not the hardest thing to do. So
you think it was
maybe that's why their QB likes to pass it around so much, It's just so used to that. All right. Get in the circle and pass it around sort of situation.
I'm sorry. I had to come up with something because it couldn't just be that he made a stupid decision.
Well, you asked for someone to explain what happened,
yes.
And I actually have what Pete said.
Oh,
here's his explanation in
All
the
right, here we go.
Cue
this is the coach of the what should have been the 2-time world champion Seattle Seahawks, Pete Carroll.
And I told them that clearly, and I don't want them to think anything other than that. They busted their tails. They did everything they needed to do to put us in position, and unfortunately, it didn't work out right. And it's a very, very hard lesson. I hate to learn the hard way, but there's no other way to look at it right now. And so, unfortunately, that's what happened. We decided to call another call, and we make these decisions every game all the time. And when they work out sometimes and they don't other times. This one didn't work out right for us, and we could have run it and got stuffed. We could have run it and scored. We could have scored against their goal line as well. I know that could have happened. It just wasn't a great football thought at the time. Great football was let's make sure we match up properly so that we can have our best chance to run it in and score. So that's all. And in retrospect, we could have easily run it and we wouldn't be talking about this. We might have got stuffed on 3rd and 4th down. I don't know what would have happened, but this is what happened.
Yeah. I'm not a big football guy, but I will say it did seem weird that they went for the crazy play at first, right? Don't you think, let's try running it once or twice? You have like 30 seconds or more, right?
That's right.
Let's just do it the old-fashioned way.
And you had one more timeout.
And if we don't get it done this way, then we'll go crazy.
Yeah.
But no, we went crazy
right.
first.
Yeah,
so we got a caller. He says he predicted what would happen before the game even started.
Wow. All right, Steve, good morning. You're on Talkback. Let us have it, buddy. What's up?
Well, no, I don't want to let you have it, but I knew that the whole thing right off the bat was going to be that they were going to criticize the decision making on the last play. But again, like in the interview there, could have, would have, should have. We don't know that he wouldn't have got stuffed at the line. You know how hard it is on the 1 yard line in the red zone. But I will ask this.
Yes.
Did you say the same thing about him making a bonehead decision with 6 seconds left or a couple seconds left at the end of the first half when he threw the ball to Matthews? I was yelling, kick the field goal, and they threw it, and he scored at the end.
That's a great point. This is a guy that definitely takes risks sometimes.
Yep.
He did it, and it paid off during that.
Well,
first
if you remember, also remember the fake punt against Green Bay. I mean, that was the catalyst that helped bring the Seattle back from probably their worst game ever to win that game to go into the Super Bowl.
Right, and Belichick was asked afterwards, were you surprised of the decision making? Of course, he wouldn't admit whether or not he was surprised or not, but yeah, he was surprised. So in a way, that was the right call. I mean, it's not like it was a bad throw. It was not like that he wasn't there and could have caught it. It was a matter of inches, and like what you said, Peter, who wanted the ball at that moment the most?
Well,
Guess what?
yeah, and it's interesting that when you throw the ball into crowded coverage like that, the Seattle, you must admit, the Seattle Seahawks have won many of their games. Some people will call it, guts, daring and guts. Some people will call it amazing luck. Okay,
right.
And I think that they depended on that luck factor just one too many times against a team that wasn't going to let it happen.
Especially the play before. Let's face it. You talk about a lucky duck.
Oh man,
yeah, that catch that bounced off his hand. I thought it was out. Yeah,
that's right. And you could argue that one too. What the heck is he doing trying to throw it down there? Why doesn't he do like all great quarterbacks do and work the ball down the field instead of doing this crazy throwing it up in the air thing?
Yeah.
He almost got intercepted.
No, I gotta ask you guys. Do you consider him a great quarterback?
Russell Wilson?
Not yet.
He just throws the ball to the other team so many times.
I think he's a brilliant quarterback. I think when he throws the ball right, there's nobody better.
Yeah. I mean, you can't. There's no denying he's proved his worth.
Yeah.
I think greatness comes with over time.
Yep. And do you remember the last team that won back-to-back Super Bowls, Steve? The
Patriots?
New England Patriots.
Yeah, that's right.
Heavy side. All right.
It is kind of frustrating. Well, I just wanted to put that out there that if you're going to criticize the call making on the last play, then I want to hear you say how great he was.
Oh no,
at the end of the first half.
It was the gum
to make that call. Also,
it was the drugged gum, Steve. Come on.
All right.
Thanks for the call. Thank you. Have a good one. I'll believe that till the day I die.
Oh, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Now that the Patriots...
Wait, we got to take a break. But hurry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask after the break.
Okay, we'll be right back. If you want to comment, give us a call. Do you buy the drugged gum scenario? The drugged gum gambit? Anyway, we're coming right back in a minute. And we're back on Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. It's what everybody's talking about the water cooler this morning. What happened to the Seahawks?
Well, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
Now that the Patriots won.
Yes.
And all I've been, the casual...
Tom Brady, MVP.
The casual football audience, which
Right.
I definitely represent.
Okay.
I
All
watch the Super Bowl, but nothing else all year sort of guy.
Right. What about the commercials?
Commercials are one issue, but the one thing that I do know about the Super Bowl is Deflategate, right? Everybody heard about this. So my question is, does this mean there's like an asterisk next to this win?
All depends.
Like they won, but they got here by cheating?
Well, hold on. Now, here's the Deflategate investigation, as silly as it sounds, is still on. I mean, it's still under investigation. And they have, I'm not sure, I guess they have somebody in the NFL office is researching it, looking, trying to find everybody from the owner, Mr. Kraft, on down to Coach Belichick, Tom Brady, everybody denying that they knew anything about the whole deflating the balls to give them an advantage.
But from what I understand, they have video now of some guy that has the rack of balls going into the bathroom, the only place that doesn't have a video camera, for a certain amount of time and then coming back out with the balls.
All I know is the report said that the gentleman, the attendant or whatever, who had the footballs, went into the restroom and came out exactly 90 seconds later, which is probably the amount of time one goes in and does one's business and washes one's hands and comes out again. I don't know if he had time during that brief 90-second time. And I don't even know, did he take the balls? He must have taken the footballs in with him. And why would you do that? Why would you take a rack of footballs with you into the restroom?
Well, now, if you're in charge of the footballs, right, you don't want anyone messing with them. You don't want any cheaters out there.
Yeah, right.
Right? So you got to take them in to protect them.
You're the keeper of the balls, ladies and gentlemen.
Or maybe you just wanted to share a little bit of you with the football field during the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Maybe perhaps that's too much. That's TMI, John. Too much information. All right, let's get Marilyn on the line. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning.
I know that you're a big football fan. What's on your mind?
Well, I had some really good news this weekend.
What is it?
Chief Justice Roy Moore from Alabama, one of my very most favorite people in the whole world.
Yes.
He's using the lesser magistrate doctrine rule. The doctrine of the lesser magistrate rule.
Okay. All right.
In Alabama, the people voted 81%, one man, one woman for marriage. And the federal judge, of course, came in and overturned the vote of the people on that. And Judge Roy Moore is saying...
Gosh, that sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah, and the governor of Alabama also, the two of them together they're defying the federal government and saying they're not going to go along with their overturning of the vote of the people. So they're defying it. So Matthew was on Janet Mufford's show. Let's see. It was Saturday. No, it would have been Sunday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So anyways, it's pretty exciting news. They're doing that. It's happening. So now the Southern Poverty Law Center, of course, is screaming, lawlessness! These people are lawless! And the left is hollering, lawless! And I'm thinking, well, they should know, right? I mean,
what is more lawless than going against the expressed will of the people expressed in a referendum?
Yeah. So, it's the left that's lawless. It's the left that are the anarchists. And Judge Roy Moore is just upholding the vote of the people, and so I'm very excited about it. And so, anyways, Matthew was on her show and did an interview, about a half-hour interview, and he was pretty fired up, too.
All right.
And so the people, hopefully, I may be taking a trip to Alabama to stand with Judge Roy Moore down there if he gets, who knows what's going to happen now. So
all right.
Should be interesting.
Great. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. All right. Now, we had something similar happen at the legislature on Friday, right, with a couple of...
we had a bill proposed. Yeah. I don't know if that's anywhere similar.
Well, there's a bill proposed. We're up against a break. We'll talk about this when we come back because Bryce Bennett and let's see who else, Christine Kaufman and then Diane Sands all had various bills presented. One was voted down, nothing happened. So we'll talk about that when we come back. 721-1290, and it's all about discrimination. So we'll be right back with more in a moment. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Get to the phones. Craig, you're on Talkback. Good morning, sir.
Okay. So anyways, Peter, your comment on lawlessness. What could be more lawless than going against the referendum of the people, right?
A majority who voted yes to change the Montana Constitution. Yes.
I never heard you say that about when our citizens elected to have a marijuana law.
Sure I did.
Oh, did you?
Well, I don't know where you've been the last couple of years, but when that was passed by the Montana legislature and then overturned, I was all over it. I mean, wasn't I, John? Have I been inconsistent there?
I don't know. I'll be honest. A lot of that happened before I got here.
Yeah. So anyway,
as well as I, sir, I was not a listener at that time. I'm sorry to say.
That's all right.
Excuse me and thank you.
Well, thanks for listening now, Craig.
All right, good day.
Thanks,
I love your show.
Thanks for the call. Okay, now you had something that I think we need to talk about because we were talking about the Super Bowl there for a second.
That's right. We were talking about Super Bowl rings, but a Super Bowl ring, not as cool as other rings.
It pales in comparison.
Yes, to the One Ring.
The One Ring.
The One Ring.
Them all. In the darkness find them?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, you got to bind them first, I believe. This is a real story out of the Washington Post. This is, again, a Texas school. We had the Poo Patrol in Texas just last Friday.
That's in Texas.
And now, again, well, it's a big state, but apparently they have big problems in learning how to deal with kids and their imaginations and their...
So more problems in Texas schools.
Here we go.
Okay. All right.
Okay, here we go. This is by Ilya Somin. Texas fourth grader Aiden Stewart was recently suspended.
It's another fourth grader.
For threatening a classmate with a magic ring. Based on the one he saw in the movie version of The Hobbit. Oh my God. Tolkien lore led a Texas boy to suspension after he brought his one ring, in quotes, to school. Kermit Elementary School officials called it a threat when 9-year-old boy Aiden Stewart, in a playful act of make-believe, told a classmate that he would make him disappear with a ring forged in fictional Middle-earth's Mount Doom. The Stewarts had just watched The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies, days earlier, inspiring Aiden's imagination and leading him to proclaim that he had in his possession the one ring to rule them all. Aiden's father has already offered a more than sufficient defense. Quote, I assure you, my son lacks the magical powers necessary to threaten his friend's existence, end quote. The boy's father later wrote in an email, quote, if he did, I am sure he would bring him right back, end quote. But just in case, let me offer the following free expert testimony on his behalf. As the author of several published works on fantasy and science fiction literature, let me make this opportunity to assure Texas school officials that there are no rings of power in the real world. Little Aiden's classmates are in absolutely no danger, except perhaps from the ring wraiths who work in a public school administration. Ridiculous zero-tolerance policies like this one pose a far greater risk to our children's education than magic rings do. There you go.
What was the boy's name?
Aiden.
Aiden, please report to Principal Sauron's office immediately.
That's pretty good. You like that?
That's right. You know, it doesn't tell you about apparently Aiden's friend bit off his finger.
Oh,
and fell into a volcano. Yeah, pretty rough stuff.
Got him. Anyway.
So we got a few minutes. Yes, I figure let's set up our next topic.
Okay, all right.
So President Obama has called for mandatory maternity leave.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I've ever talked to anybody that actually worked at a job and they said, you know what? I think that the government or I think my company shouldn't give me time off when I have a kid. Everybody will say, you know, you got a kid, you need to be home. Family first. Go be with your kids. Be with your family. Well, our next guest...
For a reasonable amount of time if you choose to come back to work.
Well, and that's the big question. Right, what's reasonable?
Right.
And is the federal government in the position to make the reasonable choice? And how many days off do you give to a woman? Do you give the same amount off to a man? What do you do for those that are working but won't have any babies?
How about this? Not only do you have to determine how many days off you give to the woman and to the husband or partner or sperm donor or whatever, okay? Right. But you got to remember, if there are other children in the household, perhaps they have to have time off too to welcome and nurture the new arrival. Maybe they need to have time off from school. Maybe it's a month, 2 months, 3 months.
If I had a baby while I was working here,
yes.
I don't remember getting any. In fact, I don't even think I took all the days off that I could take off normally.
Yeah.
Right. One of the other things that you look at around the world, Norway, I believe, has a whole year of full paid off.
Right.
So you get your regular pay, but you don't have to show up for a year.
Sweet.
There's one country, I think it's Sweden, but I might be wrong. Yeah. All of these are Northern European countries that they love. They also are in very dire need of babies.
Very socialistic people.
They have like a huge number of days. I honestly can't remember the number of days, and you can use them up until your kid turns 8.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-530. Now, we are going to be visiting with Kay Hymowitz, who is with us, will be with us from the Manhattan Institute, talking about this very thing. So let's get Sue on the line. Good morning, our wonderful Sue. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. What's on your mind?
Well, I think it's interesting that these lawmakers don't want to give people paid time off, but they're sure willing and able to take 7 weeks off to leave Washington, D.C. and come home and run for office, and they get all that time. That time is paid. So I'm just it's kind of odd that they would be so against giving people paid time off.
Well, that's the question. Are they against giving women or their significant others time off, or are they trying to mandate and require companies to have X amount of days?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that they're fighting so hard against it, because they seem to be fighting pretty hard against giving people paid time off.
I'll give you a hint of what the president like. I haven't read the bill, so I'll be honest. I don't know the depth of it, but I do believe it is a federal mandate. I believe that it is something that comes from the federal government, and I have this clip in the queue, if you will. This is CBS coverage. Major Garrett talking about the issue of paid mandatory sick leave and maternity leave. If you could run that for me. It's in my 52800 section.
I see. I'm looking for it right now. Mm-hmm.
Look for Major Garrett in the byline.
Major Garrett. There it is. Got it. Okay, paid leave. All right, here we go. This is a minute 43, and then when this cut is over, we got to take a break.
Thanks for your call, Sue.
Thanks, Sue. Appreciate the call, and here we go.
With his signature, President Obama ordered federal agencies to provide 6 weeks of paid leave for any employee who needs time off to care for a newborn, an adopted child, or sick family member. The president ate lunch today with 3 working mothers in Baltimore to symbolize his interest in workplace issues.
One of the biggest problems that we have is that there are 43 million Americans who don't get paid sick leave.
In 60% of families, both parents work. That's up from 40% in 1965. The White House wants states to create more earned sick leave, and Congress to require companies to provide at least 7 days a year of earned maternity or sick leave. Caitlin Butler Rothstein is expecting her first child, a boy, this spring. A lawyer who now works a part-time retail job, Rothstein said unpaid leave creates anxiety for all working moms.
I think when you are taking unpaid leave, it sends a message that what you've done isn't of any value, that the work you've done prior isn't of any value, and what you're going to do isn't of any value.
Republican Congresswoman Martha Roby of Alabama, a mother of 2, wrote a paid leave bill that passed the House in 2013. It would allow employees and employers to trade overtime hours for either pay or time off. Roby opposes a federal mandate for paid leave.
This is about flexibility for hardworking Americans that just want the government to get out of the way.
The White House says the cost of federal leave is about $250 million a year. Bob, in the private sector, the estimated cost, $2.5 billion every year.
And we'll be visiting with Kay Hymowitz from the Manhattan Institute talking about this very thing when we come right back after this timeout. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Talkback. I'm Peter Christian. That's John King. And we have a guest on the phone, Kay Hymowitz, joining us from the Manhattan Institute. obviously in New York City. Kay, good morning and welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I've linked in our post for today's Facebook page a link to an article in Time that Kay wrote. But I'll give you a little bit of background on her. She is the William E. Simon Fellow at the Manhattan Institute and a contributing editor of City Journal. She writes extensively on childhood, family issues, poverty, and cultural change in America. And just listen to some of the titles of her books, and you'll realize you'll get a rousing discussion going in just a few seconds.
Wow.
Here's one. Marriage and Caste in America, Separate and Unequal Families in a Post-Marital Age. I don't think there's 3 words together in that title that don't jar some kind of position, right? And then there's another one, Liberation's Children, Parents and Kids in a Postmodern Age, and Manning Up, how the rise of women has turned men into boys.
Wow.
So we should be up for a pretty intense discussion. Right before we got you on the air, Kay, we were listening to the president talk briefly about a proposal for increased sick leave and federally mandated maternity leave in the United States. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, most of the research I've done has been about family leave, and I'm quite torn, as I think a lot of conservatives are, because on the one hand, we don't like a lot of government mandates, and on the other hand, we are very pro-family, right? We want to see families have an easier time of it, and it's tough right now. There are an awful lot of families that need 2 incomes to get by, and the median wages for men are very low and stagnant, and so it is necessary in many cases for women to work, and women want to work. Many women. So here's the thing: what do you do as a conservative in acknowledging those problems? So what I tried to do in the piece that I wrote for National Review was to look at the programs that already exist. And the one that's been around the longest, the one in California, is relatively benign from my point of view. It doesn't cost businesses anything, or at least no direct cost, because it's an employee payroll tax. That's how they pay for it. And it seems to have been fairly productive in terms of getting women who were poor or low income to have a little bit of extra time with their kids. It's only, by the way, six weeks of paid leave that they provide. But it seems to make a difference in some people's lives, and it doesn't seem to impact businesses very much. So that's where I stand on it.
What about the president's plan? And do you understand it? We were talking before the break that I'm not really sure of the specifics of the plan. I assume you probably are.
Well, what he's doing is suggesting that Congress give him the money to give all federal workers access to family leave, six weeks of paid leave. Now, you should know that we already have an assurance of 12 weeks but of protected leave, but that's unpaid. That's a federal mandate, and that is unpaid.
Okay, so you can leave your job, but you won't get paid for it. But you can leave for 12 weeks.
You can leave, and you should, and theoretically, your job is supposed to be waiting for you after 12 weeks.
Okay.
So that's been in place for quite a while. Now, I should also mention that there are a lot of companies that offer their own programs, particularly for their more highly skilled workers, because they want them to come back, after all. So this is, a lot of times you hear people say, oh, the United States doesn't have any family leave. That's not really true. It doesn't have a national mandated plan. So at any rate, to get back to the question of the president's plan, he wants to provide paid leave, 6 weeks of paid leave for federal workers, and he wants to incentivize the states to be looking into their own plans. And so he's got a certain amount of money, I've forgotten what it is, that he wants to spread around just to get them to do the administrative things you need to do to set that up. They're not going to, the federal government would not be paying for it.
So what would they do? Like give some kind of grants to states that pursue this? I mean, what?
Yes. Exactly. You'd make a proposal to the government saying we're going to, this is what we're thinking of doing, and they would then give you money. I think it was something like $5 billion that they were going to spread around, but don't quote me on that.
Now, Kay, but this is Peter. We're up against a break. I want to ask you something here. I think one of the reasons why businesses don't want the federal government to shove a plan basically in their face and say this is what you're going to do is because that removes from them the opportunity to be creative with their own family leave situations. For instance, let's say a woman, we have a lady here who's basically going to be on maternity leave any minute. She has a baby. We're expecting a baby any minute now. Okay,
it's Lorna, isn't it?
No,
you're leaving.
Get out of here.
No, okay.
No. And so there are ways for people, depending upon the job, to be able to do work from home, to telecommute a little bit, and maybe do some other creative things that you couldn't do if you were struggling under a federal mandate. Now, can we talk about that when we come back?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back. And if you have a question or a comment, give us a call at 721-1290. Or maybe perhaps you've been involved, had a situation where you didn't get enough family leave, or you wished you had, or whatever. Just give us your experiences. We'd love to hear from you. 721-1290. We're coming right back. Hey, we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is the number. Love to have you on, along with Kay, who's joining us from the Manhattan Institute. Now, Kay, I just asked you a question before the break about if there was a federal mandate that says one size fits all, here's what you will do no matter what. What does that do to the average small business in a place like Missoula, Montana?
Yeah. The program, or the Family Medical Leave Act that's been in place since '93, that was passed under Bill Clinton, and that allows 12 weeks of protected leave without pay, did not include smaller companies of less than, that have fewer than 50 employees.
Okay.
So that's one way you can get around that. And I don't know, I'm actually not sure how the various states, there are about 3 or 4 states who now have statewide mandatory programs, and I'm not sure whether they have an out for smaller businesses or not.
You know, this 50-employee rule, it seems to be like a federal government thing. I wonder how many companies, the growth in the 49-employee industry must just be rocketing.
Yes, exactly. Something definitely to research, I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure Baskin-Robbins now only has 49 flavors.
Right.
I have to ask you, Kay, it sounds to me like the president's plan is something that you wouldn't have a problem with. So it's a federal government employees thing. Obviously, the federal government, huge employer, but that's pretty much the only route you're going to change things on that end, except for what I expressed as my surprise is that why haven't the federal employee unions negotiated this sort of contract before? Why hasn't that been a major talking point for the unions? So I wanted to ask you, first off, why, or do you have any kind of problem with the president's plan? Because he is basically just asking the states to come up with their own plan, which sounds like what you're suggesting.
Yeah. I have a problem depending on the details. I mean, that's what I tried to argue in my article, that you really have to look carefully at each of the requirements. So one of the problems when you talk about a family leave, or it isn't just maternity and paternity leave we're talking about, but also leave to care for a sick child, a sick spouse, or a sick parent.
I was going to say about, we're getting into the area now where we're becoming a caretaker generation here.
Well, that's right.
And I have a fish with
here's
fin
the
rot.
problem. In California, you had a lot of people that, people were happy with the change in the law that gave them this paid leave of 6 weeks.
What about my dog?
And they said, they said, what about my dog? What about my sister?
Right,
and on and on. So recently, the Governor Brown has signed a bill extending the benefit to cover more family members. Now, the problem with that, anybody who runs a business will know right away, you could take leave after leave. I think you're only allowed to take it once a year, regardless. But you could take, you could say, well, my mother-in-law is sick, or my sibling is 1 year, and then the next year my sibling is sick. Now, you're supposed to get a doctor's note, but that one could see a thriving business there too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to ask you, one of the things you've written about that I thought was really interesting was how some of these, looking at other countries, some of the laws that are in place, especially in Northern Europe, actually help to make what we call the glass ceiling for women even thicker and harder to break through. How can having maternity leave make it harder for women to excel in the workplace?
Well, it doesn't if we're talking 6 or 8 weeks or 12 weeks. It does in the countries where they are providing a year or more, 6 months or more in many cases. And in Sweden, for instance, you get over a year if you want it. And what happens, of course, is that women who are expected to do that and do that find themselves losing human capital, losing seniority, and it does seem to hold them back. It creates a kind of mommy track that we used is the phrase used
mommy
to go.
Track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what,
So,
I was going to say, Kay, we have a gal on the phone, Catherine, who always has good questions. So, Catherine, go ahead. You're on with Kay.
I just want to point something out that I've actually pointed out before. All of this is going to greatly accelerate the process of replacing human workers or human labor, which is vastly more expensive and inefficient, all the way up the line with automation and robotics.
What do you mean, Catherine?
Oh, Peter, which is already occurring.
Affirmative.
With the lower end, lower rung kinds of jobs. There's I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but there's a hardware chain in California that is beta testing using interactive robots to do customer service and inventory. They work 24/7, and they replace quite a significant number of retail cashiers and people who stay up all night and inventory, and they replace it with just a couple IT guys. So, this is just one more thing that's going to push businesses, especially private businesses, into accelerating that process.
Okay, so let's get her answer. What do you think, Kay?
well, I guess robots don't have families, right?
Yes, they don't.
No.
So this is a danger. It is happening, I think, anyway, regardless of whether you have 6 weeks or no leave. And it is, it's going to be more expensive at a certain point with ever cheaper technology. It's going to be more expensive to hire human beings, and that is a huge economic and psychological and social problem that we're going to be dealing with, I think, regardless of family leave.
Okay, I got to ask you this question. We're going up to a break, but I'll tease it for the other side. You wrote a book called Manning Up and how the rise of women is basically turning men into boys. My question for you is... Is not. Stop being such a boy, Peter. My question for you is, are these laws, because you've dealt with the issues of feminism and masculinism, however you want to use the terms, are these laws doing a fair job in treating men and women equally? Okay. Or are they hurting the kind of sexual culture we have in America?
We'll be right back. We'll talk more about that when we come back. The typical male anthem, "Ain't Too Proud to Beg." 721-1290 is our number. I thought it interesting to segue into our conversation with Kay. So go ahead.
So I gotta ask this question. I was a father, or I am a father. I had a child just in the last year. He'll be turning 2 here in May. So my question for you is, how are states handling this issue of dads in the workplace? Obviously, moms have to go out for the hospital, but after that first, my wife was out of the hospital in a day. So after that first transition period, is it fair to give women 6 months maternity leave and have the dad away at work all the time?
Well, the family leave laws in California and Rhode Island and New Jersey, which allow 6 weeks of paid leave, not 6 months,
6 weeks.
all include men.
Oh, they do?
Take it too. Yes, they do. Now, it's a very interesting point and shows you that, again, highlights the difference between us and some of the European countries we were talking about earlier. Because in Sweden and Iceland and several other countries, they're experimenting with rules that require men to take some of the leave. So, in other words, it's not quite that bad. But what they do is they'll say, well, we'll give you as a family 3 months or 6 months, but the father has to take 3 of those months or you lose it.
Wow. We will literally pay you to wake up in the middle of the night with a screaming kid.
So
don't take the deal, guys.
Americans are not going to go for that kind of thing, understandably.
Or when Dad says, "I've got 6 months off. I'm going to go fishing up in Alaska. Good luck with the babies, sweetheart."
I wonder if they have a way to track you down.
But you have to have an ankle monitoring GPS bracelet to make sure you're there to wake up with the child. So. That's the federal government at work there. So
yeah,
anyway.
really.
Right.
So, like I said, I don't think we're going to see something like that in the United States. We're pretty careful about that kind of thing, and I certainly don't approve of any kind of effort to social engineer. Now, I should mention one other problem with family leave that bothers me. I've written a great deal about the decline in the two-parent family.
We got about 1 minute, so go ahead.
All right. Well, anyway, you could see how maternity leave actually is helpful to single mothers in a way that could be a kind of incentive over the long run when you add other kinds of benefits. So that worries me.
Okay. All right. Well, how do we get a hold of more information about you and about your writing?
Well, on the Manhattan Institute website, that's www.manhattan-institute.org, and look under Scholars, and you'll find me.
Fantastic. Kay, thank you so much for spending your time and your expertise with us. We appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it.
All right. You take care, ma'am.
Have a good day.
Remember, you're only young once, but you can be immature forever. That's also the male anthem. Anyway, we're going to take a break, come right back after the top of the hour, and we have another hour of open phones.
Right, so if you missed your Super Bowl moment, give us a call.
We'll be back. They are too. All right, good morning, and that's John King.
That's John King, and that's Peter Christian.
Well, howdy, everybody.
And we want to invite you onto the radio as well. Give us a call at 721-1290. So far, we've talked about maternity leave, the One Ring to rule them all and bind them and kick you out of elementary school down in Texas.
Yes, I like that.
We've also brought up this instance of a horrible football play, which ended with a devastating loss for the Seahawks.
Man.
Jeannie has commented on most of those topics with
go
a post
Jeannie,
on
go.
Facebook, so I'll read that, and then we'll shift to another topic.
Give.
She says, my son also works in Seattle. We were and still are devastated by the Seahawks' loss. I feel that the government is already giving its employees quite a lot of benefits. Having had 3 sons, I know that babies are a lot of work. This is where extended family comes in. If there is not family around, young parents need to juggle, just as we have done for centuries. I will say, the whole not having family around thing, I think it's more of a modern trend.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my wife and I tried to live we had this brilliant plan. We love both of our parents. So to show our love for them, we are going to pick a house equidistant between their house over in Bremerton, Washington, and my parents' home back here in Missoula.
Right.
This was the stupidest plan any family has ever made.
Okay.
Because you are just about as far away from help as you could possibly be.
Yes, you certainly are.
So, I mean, after dealing with the idea and not having parents around and family members around, it's just like, man, sometimes you need someone to watch your kid.
Yes,
and you
do.
don't necessarily trust someone that you're paying to do it the right way.
Exactly, because it's not their child.
Right. Now, my mom definitely feeds my kid too much candy, but other than that, a 5-star gal.
That's
when it comes to watching kids.
Come on, man. That's what grandparents are. Someday, I hope to be a grandparent. And I already have notebooks full of ways I'm going to spoil the absolute whatever out of my grandkids.
Well, if you need poo and goo shooters running around your house, give me a call. I'll ship them right over.
That's okay. I'm waiting for my own. I am.
Well, I wish you all the luck in that.
Thank you very much. I have nothing to do with it, but there you go.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up was, let's wait to the serious topic. We'll give it a few more minutes.
All right.
Because we could just start a new hour. Maybe some people just jumped on. We had talked about the Super Bowl, the element that a lot of the guys were watching for, right? The football element. But one thing I wanted to ask you, there was a moment, a commercial, that literally made me laugh out loud, but it wasn't supposed to.
All right.
Okay.
Which one was that?
It's this commercial. I got emotionally involved in it, right? As a father.
All right.
And I noticed there was a lot of commercials just trying to target me. Like,
there was, my wife called it, there was a lot of family-friendly commercials in there.
Time. So this commercial, I'm not going to play it for you because if you don't see it, it doesn't really do anything for you. It's a bunch of kids saying dad.
Right.
And it starts off with a kid saying dad, and he's crying because he can't do the gym or the first word dad, and then it moves up to a kid saying dad, like when they're getting ready to go out on the prom, and then later like a girl getting a girl getting married and saying dad, and like all this dad, and then at the end it cuts to just jarring commercial language, like for the man who cares, Dove shampoo, or something like that. I was like, man, this is a great message for dads everywhere to get involved and to be parents and to be there for their kids.
So what that tells you is only men who use Dove products for their skin care about their children. That is the inference. Yes. If you don't use Dove, you're a cold-hearted, unfeeling, non-caring son of a gun. Shame on you. What do you think?
I guess that's what the takeaway was. I was thinking it was so good. The editing and the cutting room, all those scenes, the kids and stuff, like it was put together so well. I was thinking maybe the federal government is trying to encourage parenthood.
Yeah.
Maybe it's big brothers and big sisters, like trying to get people involved in caring about others. I don't know.
No, it's Dove. Forget it. Yeah. So. And the other one was with the father who was the race car driver.
Oh, yeah.
The Cats in the Cradle and the Silvers of the Harry Chapin song.
Yeah.
And eventually he winds up, with his son. And he hugs him and all that because the dad's away for a lot of stuff. He's out racing, right? And the son's growing up and going through all sorts of stuff, and his dad's not there. And you don't want to have, if you know anything about that song, "The Cats in the Cradle," you know what happens. Don't worry, son. When I'm done with work, I'll be there for you, and then we'll do some fun stuff. And then when he finally is ready, he's retired, and the son has grown up and moved away. He doesn't have any time for his dad, so it's very ironic.
Yeah.
So
anyway. And the son has a kid, but he can't bring him around.
Exactly.
He's busy, Dad.
Right.
Anyway, and that one has the hashtag with dad. Right. And my dad always pulls up in a really fancy, expensive Mercedes. So I assume this is what parenthood looked like. Yeah. No, parenthood looks like you pull up with a bunch of Cheerios in the back seat, some unknown substance stuck to the back of your neck while you're driving, and beat up fender because your kid left the door open when you were backing out of the garage.
So was there a favorite Super Bowl commercial for you? Was it the old deal with the Clydesdales and the little puppy and the wolves and all that kind of?
It was a wolf. A wolf.
A what? Okay,
the
a wolf.
Stupidest wolf hunter ever.
Sorry. All right. So what was it? That one? Was it the one with Kate Upton, the very buxom gal?
I assume all kinds of guys are going to call in and say that was their favorite.
Well,
one.
yeah, but because she was riding around with a horse and practically put her eye out. But anyway, and it was promoting some game on a website, and then there was the one with Liam Neeson. Supposed to be Liam, but he's also working on this little thing with his phone, right? A little game on his phone, and the guy at the coffee shop says, "Liam, order for Liam." He walks over at his best Liam Neeson voice, saying, "That's Liam." Yeah, so that was supposed to be scary.
I was surprised at how many iPhone video game commercials. There were during the Super Bowl.
And then of course there was the one with Brian Gumbel.
I actually have that one.
Oh,
because
do you?
it was one that stuck out to me too.
Okay, and
Here,
so
I'll play it for you.
Okay, well, hang on. We're up against a break, so we'll play it when we come back after the break. And I want to know if there was a favorite Super Bowl commercial for you, or if there's one that just made you mad or... Anyway, 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back on Talkback, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. So you said you had one at the audio of this Brian Gumble and... What's her name? I forgot.
Katie Couric.
Katie Couric, yeah, commercial.
So pull them up that pot there.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
We got this one ready to go,
This is, we're trying new things. You can't tell. This is technical
wizardry.
Newfangled wizardry back here. Here we go.
Gentlemen. All right, here we go.
Back in 56 pass, I wasn't prepared to translate that.
That's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At?
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah.
But I'd never heard it.
Around.
I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark. There it is. At amfeedback.com. I mean, what is internet anyway? What do you write to it like mail?
Here's Allison. Can you explain what internet is?
Wow.
See, that's what I said. What do you mean there's nothing under the hood? Katie said she thought this was a car.
Yeah.
And it's built using wind? Like from a windmill?
Or a fan? Or a turbine? Or a fan vine?
Wow. I mean, what is I3 anyway?
Allison, can you explain what I3 is?
The all-electric BMW i3, built in a wind-powered factory with the strength of carbon fiber and BMW performance.
Come on, loosen up, Gumble.
Can you twerk?
Maybe.
Can you twerks? Maybe. Yeah, last thing I want to see is Katie Couric twerking, please. Okay, let's get G. Anderson on the phone. Good morning, Mr. G. How are you, sir?
I am quite well, gentlemen. How are you?
What's up?
The commercial that got to me, it struck a nerve. It was the one of the father dropping his daughter off at the airport.
Oh yeah, the one she was going off to probably join the service, right?
Yes, she had her sack on her back and she was walking through the door. Previously, it led up and it showed the trials and tribulations of a young girl who was going through the boyfriend and things like that.
And Dad was always there to rescue her, right?
Exactly. And right at the end, here he was, helpless.
Yep. And the facial expressions were priceless. I mean, they've really obviously these are very good actors that are doing these ads. So
yes, it was, and it was a very emotional thing for me.
Yeah, that commercial was pretty touching. I was trying to find it, but it's been a hard one for me to pull up on my laptop while I'm at work. But yeah, that was another one. I think there were no less than 3 major dad commercials for the Super Bowl this year, which outnumbered, if I'm not mistaken, there was one commercial. My daughter, I'll admit, the writing was funny, but it's what's that? Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian, yeah.
And my 7-year-old daughter, literally, I'm not making this up, turns to us and says, "Why doesn't she wear very many clothes?"
She's
obviously very poor.
I will explain that to you when you're 29.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, G.
So, several of the commercials were made by the NFL.
Well, there were some NFL commercials.
Yeah,
like the ones with, we are the NFL and my NFL family.
Right,
he goes for the Hawks. Right. He goes for the Patriots, and that guy just died.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, you have a good one, G.
Thanks for the call. So what do you folks think? 721-1290. Was there one that touched you? Was there one that moved you? And what's the best Super Bowl commercial of all time? I will never forget. There was one, I believe it was a Nissan commercial, and I don't know why this one struck me so funny. It was about a bunch of birds, okay, who...
With the target reticle?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they were going to, poop on cars. I mean, that was their recreation. And so there was this one car, and they kept missing it because it was going so fast and it was just so nimble. And for some reason, that just struck me funny. I thought that was hilarious.
Well, I know the reason, because nothing makes Peter laugh more than a poo joke. He likes poo jokes more than the nation of Germany, which is obsessed with them. So.
Anyway, I don't know why that struck me funny, but it certainly did. Anyway, so what is your favorite Super Bowl commercial this game, or were there, or I heard when we watched the game with some friends, and there weren't any that just you want to jump up and say, that's a great, I want to see that one again. I mean, there weren't any commercials where the people that I watched the game with said, I have to see that commercial again. That is just absolutely outstanding. You know, and the Budweiser deal with the Clydesdales, it's just a continuing theme. And in a way, that's very smart because you don't have to worry about branding too much because everybody knows that Clydesdale is Budweiser and all that good stuff. So
right. I think one of the things, there wasn't a lot of funny commercials.
No. Well, now remember, we had the news story about the University of Montana students who were working on the Doritos commercial.
No, did you see it? I saw 2 Doritos commercials, and then I went to church for like the third quarter.
There was one Doritos commercial that featured a woman with a baby.
No, that's not it.
Yeah.
So I saw 2.
Yeah.
There was also the When Pigs Fly one. The kid makes that pig fly with rockets or whatever.
So let's get Vern on the line. Good morning, Vern. What's up, sir?
Good morning, guys. The commercial that got me the most upset, I only watched from the halftime or late in the second quarter through the game, but the one that got me the most upset was the one with Liam in it.
Oh, yeah. Liam?
Liam, yes. And that's kind of like 2 or 3 weeks ago, he came out and said that, there are way too many guns in America. He made it hit a lot of the gun media anyway. And yet...
You mean the guy that kills everybody in sight on his movies, that he's upset about guns?
Yes, and he's not an American. And the country that he comes from has a higher violence rate per 100,000 than the United States.
They also apparently have the best sniper in the world.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then he's advertising a violent video game, which, and I'm not against violent video games by any means, but, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see, given his political leanings and background, for him to come out and say, well, we need to ban violent video games because they're causing violence. I mean, it fits right into his...
I'll be honest, I didn't see this commercial, but what is the video game? It's like old men kicking butt? Is that...
No, it's oh gosh, which one is it?
I honestly don't remember the name, which is interesting in so many of these commercials. It's like, I really like the commercial, but I don't remember what the heck they were advertising.
Yeah,
but it was
it's something you play on your smartphone.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and it was an older, it was dragons, make-believe, fantasy type violent game.
And aren't they all? So.
Yeah.
All right, Vern, thanks for the call, man.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. And then you have a great day, and we'll take a break. We have a Facebook comment. We'll talk about that. We have all 3 lines open. We're talking about a little bit about the Super Bowl. We kind of vented a little bit about the stupid play that Seattle ran to lose the game. If you want to talk about that, we can. Or if you have a favorite commercial, we'll be right back. This is Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. We have a Facebook comment. Go.
Katie said, National Insurance dead kid ad, ... horrible! !
Which one was that? I don't remember that.
So I remember this one, and as a parent, I actually thought it was pretty good.
All right.
So it was basically running statistics and saying things. So there's a shot of a bathtub.
Accidents,
and there's a shot of an open chemical, like underneath the sink.
Yeah,
and there's a shot of a flat screen TV that's fallen over, and it basically said, a certain number of kids die every year from preventable accidents. Help us help you learn how to avoid them, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder. I mean, not every kid dies in a horribly tragic way, like their uncle shoots them.
Right.
As we recently had here in Montana, usually they die in mundane ways.
Yeah.
Like the door was left open and they wander out in the cold, or something like that.
Something like that. All right. So and I thought that was a very effective commercial, but again, it didn't jump out at.
It's not one you want to watch again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's get Tyler on the line. Tyler, thanks for holding, buddy. What's up?
Good morning. I hope you guys had a good weekend.
Oh yeah. With the
good.
exception of that stupid game last night, it was great.
Yeah, the game sucked. My wife and I sat here and watched it, and we had no dogs in the fight.
What do you mean? Patriots did an awesome play. I had to pretend to be for the Patriots because everybody else in the room was for the Seahawks.
Sorry, go ahead.
The commercials were even, worse. My wife, the only reason why she watches football, the Super Bowl, is for the commercials, and she said that she was utterly disappointed. But one, in between here and there, and you're doing things around the house, I have to have talk radio on somewhere in a room, and top of the news came on, and there was a news story about President Obama being asked a question about Deflategate.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, I posted a story on our website about it the day before the Super Bowl on Saturday. But yeah, the thought occurred to me when the president is commenting on this issue. Like, who do you trust more, Belichick or Obama? Who would you leave alone in the room with the football? Or the nuclear football, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll read his statement, though, here. I'm going to pull it up real quick here. This is what the Town Square staff put together, so it's not me writing it, but they said, wow, this Deflategate scandal continues to get bigger and bigger. The latest to chime in is none other than President Obama himself, who made a joke about the controversy in which the New England Patriots were accused of deflating balls during their AFC Championship game against the Indianapolis Colts. While giving a speech in Philadelphia on Thursday, the president couldn't help but comment about the matter, quote, I want to remind the New England and Pacific Northwest contingents that this is the city of brotherly love. So regardless of what you think about Sunday, I want you to keep it clean. After that, someone in the crowd made a joke about bringing your own balls, which got a nice laugh. The Patriots and presumably a set of unscathed balls will tingle in the Seattle Seahawks at the Super Bowl on Sunday. So anyway, there you go. I want you to keep it clean. I wonder if someone was thinking, yeah, we want you to keep that gun running on the southern border clean. We want you to keep that IRS agency clean.
Yeah. Well, the words that I actually heard him speak on the radio was, he said, well, when you break the rules, you break the rules. And, yeah, that's what he said. I mean, that's how flippantly he said it. Like, well, I mean, if you break the rules and you get caught, I mean, what are they really going to do? I mean, they're not going to do anything to me. I mean, I break the rules all the time. Nobody does anything to me.
Let's put it this way, Tyler. If it is proven that they did mess with the footballs and the inflation and all that kind of stuff, then probably the worst that can happen is they won't have to forfeit any of their wins. That whoever is found to be at fault will be fined. And I think the worst that ever happened during the Spygate scandal was they lost a draft pick.
Oh, yeah. How about a 5-yard penalty for every play for the rest of the year?
No. How about giving Seattle a chance to run that play again? Bring everybody back. Bring them all back. Run the play again.
Thanks for your call, Tyler.
Take care, buddy.
All right. One thing I did want to bring up, it was I guess you kind of expect it when you're watching hockey for people to start hauling off and hitting people.
Oh yeah.
But like that what was like less than 18 seconds ago, and the Seahawks
they're trying to do the genuflect offense. They call it the victory formation, and they were so close to the end line, and then they tried to do it, and then one of the Seattle guys came offside, and there was shoving and pushing, and there was a big
Didn't he haul off and punch the guy?
Yes.
Like
somebody got ejected. Number 52, I believe, got ejected for the Seahawks.
Right.
So anyway,
classy.
A little bit of poor sportsmanship going on there. So a little frustration.
Anyway, someone else that went out of the big game for 2016, that'd be the presidential race for 2016.
Oh, that's right.
Was Mitt Romney. I remember a lot of people are taking this very differently. I told my dad that he had bailed out of the race, and my dad's like, good. And like many people, kind of burnt out on Mitt. Anyway, I have found, it was difficult to find, a recording of his back out speech, which was given to, I believe, donors over the phone. So anyway, we'll play that for you after the break.
Stay with us. And by the way, we have all three lines open. Are you upset that Mitt Romney backed out, or are you going, yay, that opens the field for all sorts of other folks? We'll be right back. Hey, it's Talk Back, and it's Monday, and that's John King, and I'm Peter Christian. Hello. By the way, Game of War is the one with Kate Upton, and Clashes of Clans.
I think it's Clash of Clans.
Clash of Clans with Liam Neeson.
Did you find that clip?
Yes.
Did you want to play it?
Yeah,
it's up to you. So his voice is the real key here, but just so you get the setting in case you haven't seen the video.
Right.
So he's sitting in a coffee bar. and he's playing this game on his phone.
Are you talking Liam Neeson?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were. I thought that's what you were teasing. Anyway, so he's sitting in the coffee bar and he's playing this game on his phone, and it's kind of kiddie sounds like a video game, and then he loses and it says "Get Revenge?" ? And
then the music begins,
and then it transitions to his voice. Yes. You need to put your computer up, Peter.
It's a computer. Sorry, wrong one. Okay, yeah. Now it says "Revenge."
I don't know you, big buffet boy 85, but if you think you can humiliate me and take my gold, think again. Oh, I'm coming for you with lots of barbarians and dragons. I can't wait to destroy your village while you beg for mercy, but you will get no mercy. I will have my revenge.
Liam? Have a scone for Liam?
Over here. It's, Liam. You will regret the day you crossed Angry Neeson 52.
Angry Neeson 52!
Angry Neeson 52 is his name. I haven't actually seen that commercial until just now. I saw the intro earlier when Peter played the very beginning of it. That's pretty good. I was always astounded when I was in Japan. Like headline actors from the United States would appear on advertisements over there that they would never show up for in the States.
Yeah, Tom Cruise, people like that,
Yeah, and you'd be like,
and they would
I'm Tom Cruise, and I eat this chicken sandwich.
That's because they pay them gazillions of yen to do it, right?
But I mean, you couldn't throw enough money at some of the big movie stars over here back in the day to appear on a commercial.
Sure.
That was beneath them.
Absolutely.
But over there, man, they were shilling cigars and wallets and watches and everything. I mean, you couldn't walk out your door without seeing a famous American.
Oh, all right. So I have the Romney thing here.
Okay, let's play this. This is Romney giving his I'll explain some of my problems with this speech or this phone call later.
Okay, so
go ahead and play the cut.
Here we go. In case you didn't hear, over the weekend, or I think it was Friday.
I think that the news hit Friday. Yeah. Most people were able to watch it on Saturday because he didn't do a public speech.
Right.
He gave a call, I believe, just to mostly wealthy donors or people that were involved, maybe not wealthy because it was fairly well recorded. I was able to find the recording. But yeah, it was a pretty closed audience that actually got to hear. Okay. But anyway, here's what it sounded like.
Mitt Romney saying, bye-bye.
After putting considerable thought into making another run for president, I've decided it's best to give other leaders in the party the opportunity to become our next nominee. The reaction of Republican voters across the country was both surprising and heartening. I know that early poll numbers move up and down a great deal during the campaign, but we would have no doubt started in a strong position. One poll out just today shows me gaining support and leading the next closest contender by nearly 2-1. I'm also leading in all of the 4 early states. So I'm convinced that we can win the nomination. But I fully realize it would have been a difficult test and a hard fight. I also believe with the message of making the world safer, providing opportunity for every American, regardless of the neighborhood they live in, and working to break the grip of poverty, I would have the best chance of beating the eventual Democrat nominee. But that's before the other contenders have had the opportunity to take their message to the voters. I believe that one of our next generation of Republican leaders, one who may not be as well known as I am today, one who has not yet taken their message across the country, one who's just getting started, may well emerge as being better able to defeat the Democrat nominee.
Who could that be?
In fact, I expect and hope that to be the case. I feel that it's critical that America elect a conservative leader to become our next president. You know that I wanted to be that president. But I do not want to make it more difficult for someone else to emerge who may have a better chance of becoming that president. You can't imagine how hard it is for Ann and me to step aside, especially knowing of your support and the support of so many people across the country. But we believe it's for the best of the party and the nation. I've been asked, and will certainly be asked again, if there are any circumstances whatsoever that might develop that could change my mind. That seems unlikely.
There you go. That's the end.
It seems unlikely.
It seems unlikely. Okay, a couple things about this. This guy is just not very good when he gets recorded.
It is. It is fraught. It is fraught with mysterious comments.
Well, there is that line of. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things I wanted to bring up is it sounds. I had this friend when I was a kid. I'm not going to bring up his name because some of you might know the guy. Right. He was always. You would play a game with this kid, right? And you would win, and then he would say, "I wasn't really trying," or he would say, "Okay, do you want to play for real now?" You know, when you get that. And I imagine this guy when he's older, you'll go up to him and you'll be like, "Hey, you want to come play whatever caroms or whatever old people play? You want to come play cribbage with me?" And he'll be like, "If I played against you, I would win."
Right.
If I were to win and bring my message, I would have the best chance of making this nation more secure. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I know I'd win. And it's just, I don't know. And then at the end, he says, if it comes down to it, is there anything that would bring me back in? That's when you say, no, there's nothing that would bring me back in. But no, he's like, probably not.
I'm leaving the door open just a little bit.
A little bit of a maybe there.
Yeah, so anyway. So what do you think? 721-1290. Are you disappointed that Mitt Romney's out? Are you hardened by the fact that he's out? And who are these mysterious people who haven't gotten their message out yet?
Well, and I think that he was really selective in his language there because he says there's one. He kept saying one over and over. Like,
is it Scott Walker?
This is a guy that has a plan, and I guarantee you he is backing somebody else.
Is it Rand Paul? Is it who is it?
I have three that I think it could be.
Okay, well we'll come back and get John. He's very astute at these things, and then again maybe not. What do you think? Who do you think Mitt is referring to? So we'll be right back with more of Talk back in a moment. 721-1290 is the number. That's John King. I'm Peter Christian. And, of course, we'd love to have you. The phone's ringing. 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309. Now, we've been kicking around the idea that Mitt Romney has stepped out of the race, and yet, ever so... interestingly, he kind of left that door open a little bit to see maybe he might want to come back in. So go ahead. Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, but maybe, but maybe not. So now, what are your three? Or should we go to our callers?
Let's go to our callers. I'm sure they have better ideas than me.
That's good. Emmett is on the phone. Emmett, what's up?
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Well, you already know what I think of the whole Mitt Romney thing because I told you on Friday. I'm still glad he's out, and I hope he doesn't get back in the race.
Okay.
I really want fresh blood. I wanted to talk about something else since it's kind of open phones. Deflategate, you were talking about that a few minutes ago.
Yes.
I think that is the most stupid news story I have ever heard, with everything horrible going on in the world, with the assault on our gun rights, with the assault on our freedoms and our liberties, with the rise of ISIS, everything you want to talk about. They are talking about deflated footballs. It's like an old 60s Batman episode.
It's more of a story than Blizzard Apocalypse 2015 over there in New York. At least something happened in this case, right?
Yeah, it's just I can't believe, this is news and it was leading news on ABC and NBC. It's embarrassing. There are other things that are much more important to talk about than a conspiracy about deflated footballs to rig a game.
Well, Emmett, you obviously weren't here earlier when you heard my own conspiracy theory of how Seattle lost that game last night.
Oh, that deserves national coverage.
It does. I honestly believe, that somehow in the fourth quarter of that game, somehow Coach Bill Belichick, the master villain of professional football, was able to spike the gum that Pete Carroll constantly is chewing and made him and forced him somehow, perhaps through a special connection to his brain, don't run it, pass it. Don't run it, pass it. He said, well, that sounds like a really good idea. So they lost the game because of spiked gum. What do you think?
Never know, yeah. I just got up earlier, so I missed the comment. I just got up about 15 minutes ago. But
okay. Right.
Anyway, the Deflategate, there's got to be other news, and journalists should report on more serious news than deflated football.
Okay. Thanks, Emmett.
Thank you.
Thanks for the call. There you go. All right.
All right. Well, and I don't know, Emmett probably doesn't know that the president commented on
he
Deflategate,
certainly did.
raising the level of this scandal to national interest.
John, you're on Talkback. Hi.
Good morning. I would like to comment on Romney withdrawing for the race.
Please do, sir.
Now, if only we can get Jeb Bush and Chris Christie to also withdraw from any consideration, because the three of them are nothing more than limp-wristed East Coast liberal Republican establishment candidates. We need someone like Scott Walker or Rick Perry, governors that have demonstrated what they're capable of. And, of course, we know about Scott Walker, how he has saved the economy in a very democratic state and won re-election 3 times in 2 years.
Yeah, a Republican that can win an election in a blue state, that's hard to do, especially a strong union state.
What about John Kasich?
Well, yeah, John Kasich has been hurting himself recently.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I look at accomplishments, and Rick Perry, by putting his Texas Rangers and his National Guard on the border, has curtailed illegal immigration by 72%.
Right.
Now, this is action. This is not talking. All we get out of these liberal East Coast establishment Republicans is talk. Nothing happens. And they all, as we found out after putting them in a big majority in both houses, they double-cross you right out of the chute. So we can't put our faith in these people anymore. We have to go with people that are doers rather than talkers.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a good deal. Thanks for the call.
You bet. Bye.
Appreciate your call. 721-1290 or 1-800-568-5309.
Mike noticed something in the Super Bowl that not very many people picked up on. I sure didn't see it, even though I saw the play. So tell us what we all missed out on, Mike.
Well, it was hi, thanks for taking my call. Hello?
Yeah, we're listening.
You're on. We're listening in rapt attention.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. When the Seahawks scored a touchdown, they were waving. Whoever scored was waving his other players toward him, and they were going to take a knee to bow their heads and give thanks. And the camera cut away.
Oh.
It's like, oh.
How about that?
It showed. Yeah, it showed.
And I did notice that on the opening kickoff, guess who got the tackle on the Patriots player? Brock Coyle, number 52, former linebacker for the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Oh.
How about that?
And then one more instance, Marshawn Lynch, when he was saying that he's only here to not get fined. I thought that was kind of tacky in that he's kind of dished an organization that made him millions of dollars. And I think Katy Perry, during the pre-game news conference, kind of quoted him saying, I'm only here to not get fined. And everybody thought she was joking at first, and then they asked her again another question, and she said that again. It kind of shows a lack of appreciation, I think. But,
all right, good point. Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're up against a break, 721-1290. We're kind of going all over the place. Super Bowl, Mitt Romney, da-da-da-da. How does it all tie together, John?
I do not have the magic string to do that.
We'll be right
sorry.
back. This is Talkback, and I think I was able to tie the whole thing together by saying that supporters of Mitt Romney, after they heard the announcement on Friday, were deflated after the announcement.
No one's got to be more bummed than the guy that got that giant Romney face tattoo.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
He's like, man, just give it one more shot.
What do I do?
That I don't look like such a fool. For 2 more years, I can make the headlines.
All right. So now you actually have a Scott Walker ad, right?
That's right. So one of the things, as we had pointed out in the call, he mentions, I think, someone, one.
Right. Yeah.
Like as if he had someone in mind. And I think he probably does.
Be now?
Now, we know that some of the financial weight behind Romney did shift to Jeb Bush.
Right.
However, I'm not sure. I think it could be Jeb Bush, Scott Walker, or Rubio that is the one pulling up. However, Scott Walker has been making some pretty big plays for the presidency.
Yeah.
Starting with this ad, he's I don't even know if he's officially on the docket as someone that's running, but he is definitely paying for ads.
Right.
So this is an ad he's running now. I'll go ahead and play it here for you, and you can hear what it sounds like.
America stands on the brink. At a time and place in our history where failed leaders preside over a nation nation adrift, with family incomes in steady decline, dreams stifled, and a foreign policy that apologizes for America and projects weakness abroad. America can't stop this by looking to the past or for answers in Washington, D.C. To reclaim our destiny, we must turn to bold, fresh, and new ideas from those incubators of reform, the states.
The folks in Washington like this top-down approach that's old and artificial and outdated that says the government knows best. We believe that you should build the economy from the ground up.
And that's exactly what states like Wisconsin are doing, leading America's revival with bold conservative reform and new ideas. Ideas that empower people and spark innovation, that turn around troubled economies, that eliminate huge deficits and turn them into surpluses, that reduce the size and scope of government, that cut taxes and create jobs.
Those groups in Washington, they tend to measure success by how many people are dependent on the government. We measure success by how many people are no longer dependent on the government. We understand that true freedom and prosperity doesn't come from the mighty hand of the government. It comes from empowering people to live their own lives and control their own destiny through the dignity that comes from work. In America, we take a day off to celebrate the 4th of July and not the 15th of April, because in America, we celebrate our independence from the government, not our dependence on it.
Okay, go ahead.
And anyway, the tagline for his campaign is "Our American Revival."
Wow. Interesting.
So there you go.
So let me ask you, we have 4 minutes left in the program. Does that ad resonate with you? Or is it just a bunch of thrown together slogans that are meant to say that to reinforce the anti-Obama message?
Well, man, you couldn't see the pictures on that, but that opening was really brutal.
Really?
And he talks about leaders that are ready to apologize and things like that. And
Right.
He shows John Kerry and President Obama, and then the guitarist, and then you see a second later willing to bend to our leaders or something, and it shows Obama doing a bow/handshake with I think the ambassador to Singapore or something like that. I don't remember the actual occasion, but anyway, it was pretty strong visuals with that.
Okay, go and grab that phone. We have 2 lines open, by the way, 721-1290, 1-800-568-5309. Again, did that message that you just heard, did that resonate with you? Did it remind you a little bit of Ronald Reagan when he began his campaign? Remember when Jimmy Carter was in the White House, and he put together a scathing, and I mean a scathing, indictment of the Carter administration as he announced that he was running for the presidency. I mean, it was scathing.
I will say this ad, one thing that did resonate with me on the ad is it made positions. It had it took positions instead of being what the sort of flowery ad you usually see for a campaign.
Right,
usually a campaign arc, they start off like, "Hi, I have a family. I'm an 80th generation, whatever state I'm in. And we're really good friends with all the people that know us. We also adopted these kids, and I had this successful past. Vote for me." And that ad was not that. It was like, "Hey, this is what's wrong. Here's the principles we're going to use to try to fix it."
Right. Let's get Sally on the line. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic.
Thank you for putting out some real positives there with your political insights. I just read an article, I think it was about 3 or 4 days ago, by someone who said, think your own thoughts about the election. Don't buy into what the perhaps liberal media is wanting you to think about compromising candidates. So those candidates that stand up for real issues of importance, and I've gotten a lot of lists, like probably you guys, from different groups, conservative and other, about how would you rate these presidents and what are the issues they think they should tackle. And I think Scott Walker, people who are bold enough to have done their thinking and their research and come out with, this is what will help our country be strong in the future.
Well, let me ask you this. Could that ad also be perceived as some really smart writer thinking, okay, these are the hot buttons that are going to get conservatives fired up, whether they're true or not. Okay, these are the ones that are going to get people fired up, and start having them send money to Scott Walker.
Well, I'm sure that was part of the equation, right?
You know, we can't make assumptions, but yeah, what's going to really not polarize, but bring the intelligent, thoughtful vote that's just permeating our land. People that their voice isn't heard, maybe they write a few letters. What's going to bring them together with one candidate?
All right, you know what? We're all completely out of time, Sally, but thanks so much for your call.
You bet.
Have a great day. Tomorrow, John.
Tomorrow we will have Rob Nadelson on. We'll be talking about the taxation power of the federal government. Should be an interesting program.
Very cool.
And we'll have open phones as well. Take your constitutional questions.
And then Walt Kiro on Wednesday.
Yeah, so get your tax questions in line.
Absolutely. You guys have yourselves a great day, and try to drive safely, and we'll see you tomorrow.